everyone. It's your host, Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. And today we have a very special guest today on the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. I have coming to the platform this man, Mr. Marcus Howard. He is a hedge fund manager, entrepreneur, and founder of the Financial Freedom for Families movement. And after years of managing capital and building precision strategies on Wall Street, Mr. Marcus, a great name, realized the real revolution in wealth isn't happening in boardrooms. It's happening around the dinner tables. And he speaks to families and individuals worldwide. And he's here on a Gentleman Style Podcast stage, blessing us, helping us learn the secrets in building generational wealth, building true legacy, and how his company is helping change that dynamic for us all. So without further ado, help me welcome to the stage the incredible, the fantastic, the amazing Mr. Marcus Howard.
What an introduction. I love it.
Absolutely. You, sir, you have done the work. And great name, can't say it enough.
Absolutely.
And so, sir, you are absolutely phenomenal. And you are doing a lot of different things, wearing many different hats. I gotta ask, when did it start for you though? When did the connection say, I need to step into trading? I need to step into the world of finance. When did that happen for you?
Sure. So if I give the full story, it won't take too long, but it really started when I was about 12 or 13 years old. My mom came home one day with a stock market CD-ROM, just to kind of date myself a little bit, like when we back before we had CDs. And she said, I think this is something that if you really took it seriously would make a big difference for not just you, but for the entire family. And, you know, when it's your mom, stuff like that really does stick with you. Now, I got to be honest with you. I tried it and was terrible at it. Like I had no idea what I was doing, lost a whole bunch of money and just kind of put it to the side. I mean, for what felt like years. But then when I was about 24, 25, that idea was still in the back of my mind of just what my mom had said. So I kind of picked it back up, and it was mainly just in the stock market buying, and whether it did or it didn't, I wasn't necessarily sure. But to completely answer your question, I really got serious in about 2018 is when I really was like, okay, is this something I genuinely want to do full time? So prior to then, I had been running a business for the better part of like a decade, maybe 12 or so years. I ended up exiting that business. And with that, I had a little bit of money, but a lot more time on my hands. And I was trying to figure out, well, what was that thing I was going to do next? And so I started with, for professional investors, they're going to laugh, but it's my story. I started with something that's called binary options, which is a very simple version of options where it's basically, hey, do you think the price of gold is going to be higher or lower than it is right now by the end of the day? And if you think it's going to be higher, you buy a contract. If you think it's going to be lower, you sell a contract. Very simplified way to trade the stock market. But what it did was it just taught me the fundamentals of things that I didn't know that I didn't even know. And so they gave me what I believe was like a $50,000, like a simulated account, essentially, in that year, because I told myself I was going to give myself a year. And so in that year, I took that $50,000 account to I think about $1.5, $1.6 million. And then I was like, okay, I might be on to something here, but that's fake money. You really got to do it with real money to prove that you can do it. And so I put in about $10,000 of my own money. And 7 years later, or however long it's been, I run a multi-million-dollar hedge fund. So I'm pretty excited about the progress.
Absolutely. Did you have any? Wow. First off, when you said leap of faith, you took a huge leap of faith. And thank you, Mom. Right? Thank you, Mom, for coming home with that article, that news clipping, and just say, listen, you need to get into this. She believed in you, right? She had to see that there's something more. I think that's all moms, right? They always want greater. And so Mom kind of lit the fire and the passion in you. You had a negative experience, but you didn't quit, right? You could have quit. You could have gave up right then and there, but you pushed and you saw what Mom was seeing it already in you.
Right.
And so that's huge. And that's very, very powerful. And that's significant. And so you learned, you did the work, you took the time, you did the research, and you learned, and you got in there. And so that $10,000 investment, you now teach others with it. What do you think people today are lacking when it comes to the family dynamic and financial literacy? Because your mom saw it, but do you think that's the case with people who don't get into the financial literacy education part of it? Because school isn't doing it. School
Sure.
is not, Western education is not doing it.
Yeah.
What do you think is going on with the family dynamic and why we're not talking about money? Was it normal for your mom and your family to talk about money and bills and all that stuff?
Absolutely not. Yeah, it's usually not customary in a lot of families, simply because a lot of the conversations that parents and students or parents and children have around money is mom or dad, can I have? Mom or dad, may I borrow? It's usually not around family economy or personal economy and how those particular things work. And so in the work that I do, so in addition to the hedge fund, I also have started a online academy for middle school and high school students to teach them personal finance and how to trade. And so I see this every single day with the families who we help, just how hard these conversations are. So to answer your question, a big reason why a lot of people aren't comfortable with having these sorts of conversations is, if we're going to be honest with ourselves, a lot of adults don't even have this knowledge to be able to speak in an educated way to their children about it. And so there's a lot of insecurity that comes from the parent because we weren't necessarily taught how to do this the correct way. We're kind of patch mealing different things together to be able to keep our own families afloat. And so when the when your child asks you about it, if you don't have the right answer, you're hoping that they can lean on other institutions like school or banks or mentor to help them to be able to get there. And a lot of times they don't know it either. That's a big reason why we started the school in the first place. It was just, we recognized that there haven't been many opportunities to be able to have those sort of healthy and constructive conversations in and around how money really works or about your family's personal economy. So think at the dinner table, instead of having conversations about, mom, can I have $20? Dad, can I have $50? It's like, well, how is the fact that eggs are costing $24 for 2 dozen now affecting the entire family? Or how come every time we go out to eat as a family of 4, it now is a mortgage payment? Like, how is that really affecting the family? Those sorts of conversations are a lot healthier, but they just need to be facilitated in a more natural sort of way.
But what about keep a child in a child's place? I agree with you. First off, let me say this. I totally agree with you. I think we are actively avoiding the important conversations. We're not
Yeah.
having those significant conversations that we need to be having, right?
Mhm.
And it's just the construct of what you're saying. It's, oh, mom and dad, let me have $20. Oh, even though junior or daughter is working,
Yeah.
right? It's save your money. Anything you need, ask me. You just missed a whole opportunity. I see those as opportunities to have those intellectual conversations, but we skip it because, like you said, mom and dad is scared, or they didn't
Yeah.
have education, or I'm assuming that your class, your school teacher, your math teacher is going to teach it to you. So why even bother? But you have missed an opportunity.
Yeah.
You're foregoing your child's future when you do that. And
Mhm.
so leaving a child in a child's place, I think, is the wrong answer. And I am completely on board with what you're saying. Absolutely. Hands down. That's scary. It's
Yeah,
scary.
and in a lot of instances, I mean, just echoing back what you're saying, it's based in insecurity. And so if you can't come from a place of confidence to be able to teach your child about something as important as money, sometimes you're going to revert back to the because I said so. But because I said so is not an acceptable answer to this generation.
Not at all. Not at
Mm.
all. Explain the why, even if it's something you're not proud of, even if it doesn't feel good. How do you teach finance in your household? Can you give examples or share any things that have worked well in your household, where mom and dad may have given you a project? Or should we go back to the lemonade stand for your daughter and say, hey, we're gonna build a lemonade stand and you're gonna see
Yeah,
how you're gonna earn this $20?
sure.
What do you think should work best?
So if I can just reflect on my own personal story, it was a little bit different. My path to wanting to get to this step wasn't rooted in those sorts of financial conversations. My mom was a social worker her entire life. She still is a social worker to this day. So I'm not sure if she's ever made $100,000 in a year. I'm pretty sure the answer is no. You know, she's probably in that 45 to 55% ish range. And so with her, and then don't know if I can swear, but like 3 grown ass boys in the house.
You're
It
good.
was, you know what I mean? Like money could only go so far. And so for me, my personal drive came from the fact that I saw how hard my mom was working to provide for our family. And so I wanted to do my part. I wanted to step up. And so I had always had a more entrepreneurial, a more hustle driven mindset just to be able to make something of myself so that I can come back and make a contribution to my greater family. So that's why I pushed myself really hard. I didn't go to the local high school. I tested into a college preparatory high school in downtown Chicago. I didn't stop there. I really tried very hard. I got into Georgetown University, was able to graduate from there in 4 years. And then when I was a sophomore or junior, actually started my freshman year, but that first business failed. So we're not going to talk about that. But starting like my sophomore or junior year, like I had already had my own successful business in college and had basically been running that for like 10 or 15 years. So my inner drive came from seeing the personal struggle of somebody who I love very deeply, being my mom. And so that may not be the same instance or that same intrinsic motivation that other people may have, because the conversations that I was having were similar to so many conversations that we have. It's like we don't have it. And when you want to ask why, you really don't necessarily know. I can share just like a personal story just to think about it, of like one of those things that really put a chip on my shoulder to really try hard was I couldn't understand for the life of me. I was maybe a junior in high school. And, my mom had always told me if you got good grades, you would get whatever you want. That was her thing. Just as long
True.
as you get good grades, you can get whatever you want. Don't worry about it. And I knew that we didn't have the most, so I didn't always ask for a lot. But it got to the point where like I had worn the same shoes in high school for so long that basically I had a hole in them. And so it was time for new shoes. And so my mom says, if as long as I get good grades, I can get whatever I want. And I wanted just a new pair of shoes. So I looked online. If you remember, do you remember East Bay? Do you remember this catalog for
I
shoes?
do.
Exactly.
I do. You
Yeah.
caught me.
So I was looking in the East Bay catalog. And Marcus, I tell you, I found like the shoes were probably like $35-$40. Like I was being very economical about it. It wasn't the new Jordans. It wasn't anything like that. It was a functional pair of shoes that were fashionable enough because I still had to get girls, but like that would make everything work. And I just couldn't quite understand at the time when I asked for them how my mom would tell me no. But I'm like, but mom, my shoes have holes in them. Like I can't, it's the wintertime. Like my feet are getting cold. Like what's happening here? And like my personal ego and pride, and even that how am I trying to say it? That map of understanding that I had at the time of if you do the right things, if you get good grades, you'll have whatever you want. Like that was echoing that I couldn't quite understand that my mom just simply didn't have the money, man. You know what I mean? And so I found myself getting upset with her without ever really being able to truly understand the perspective of where she was coming from and how for her to say way more than it hurt me, even though I had holes in my shoes. And so years later, when I was able to sit and really reflect and understand that I was wrong in that moment, it twisted something in me forever to really just always look outside of my own perspective to see what's going on in the other person's shoes as well. Because a lot of times what people are doing is not a reflection of you. It's a reflection of what's going on with them. And we just have to take a second to understand.
Absolutely. Sir, you are me in what I want to grow up and be like when I grow. No, you have no
I
idea.
appreciate you.
I'm about to blow your mind. You and I have had the similar experience growing up. My father always told me no. Always told me no. Right? Seemingly, I was doing all the right things, going to school, wasn't doing too much drugs, wasn't doing drugs, wasn't doing all the stuff. Right?
Yeah.
And always, anytime I wanted nothing big, I want McDonald's, I want a Happy Meal, I want the stuff. No. And I got fed up of hearing the word no and not understanding. My dad worked 2-3 jobs, right?
Yeah.
For most of his career. He was a teacher by day and then he worked evenings, and he was just a hustler. He would come home in between shifts and get like an hour of sleep and then shower and be out the door again.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it didn't make sense to me. Why am I being told no? And it was selfish of me, right? Looking back. But I realized, okay, I'm tired of hearing no. Let me go get a job. And then I got a job. And I started making some money. And then I got a third job and a second job while still maintaining my grades, of course.
Yeah.
And so you and me are kin in that way. We got tired of hearing the word no and it perpetuated something else in us. It lit a fire in us to change something about ourselves and our circumstances. So big kudos. This man is the legend. I had no idea. Y'all, that was his story. And so I want to stay right here for one more second, staying in the same breath. Why do you think financial literacy in schools, why are we not teaching it? Do you think it should be mandatory? Do you think we should flip the script and make it mandatory, or keep it out there? In because we're in the information age, it's everywhere, and you are a big part of changing that paradigm. What do you think? Are you in schools now? Is your company in schools and what you do in schools, or should it stay out of schools?
Yeah, well, that's a really great question. The first thing I want to do is give a shout out to Next Gen Personal Finance, because they are the association that's really been advocating for financial literacy and personal finance to be taught in high schools. And the work that they have been doing actually has made it mandated now for personal finance to be taught for at least one semester in 27 states in the United States. So 27 out of the 50 states actually do require some form of financial literacy to be taught for at least one semester in school. So I never want to be on a public forum and not shout out those guys and the work that, and women, and the work that they've been doing, because they really are doing the Lord's work. Now, with that said, most of the financial literacy courses that are taught in schools are just ass, man. Like, they're not good. And so when you're in a space where, as a student, you are looking at your peers, like, high school is a important time, not just for the education that you get, but in a lot of instances, it's shaping your identity. And so what most adults don't understand now is just how much more pressure is put on a high school and a middle school student to be the best version of themselves. We didn't grow up in a TikTok generation or an Instagram generation or even a Facebook generation, for that matter. I didn't get Facebook until I was in college. And so all of these sort of social cues that we used to have, where we just had to impress our 5 friends that were at school, that's not what this is anymore. They have an entire generation of people that they are either looking up to or looking to impress with what it is that they're doing. And so if you then go and take a financial literacy course, and it's mainly just your teacher who's talking to you about, like, how to balance a budget, these sorts of things that don't necessarily truly apply to you in real life, or worst case scenario, they're talking to you about retirement and you haven't paid for college yet, what you're finding is that there's a disconnect between what's being taught and what they truly want to learn. So even though the course says financial literacy or personal finance, it is not the personal finance that student particularly wants to learn. So for them, it's just any other subject in school. The other part to that too, and it's something that doesn't get talked about as often, is that in a lot of times in school, you have a person teaching you personal finance in school that to the student, they perceive as broke. Think about that for a second. So it's like, I'm going to take advice from you, but I know how much teachers make, man. You complain about your job every single day.
It's so true.
You know? And so these kids aren't dumb. They are thirsting for knowledge, but it also matters the set and the setting in which they get this information. And a lot of times they're not going to get that in school because they're dealing with so many other things. And so there's just so much pressure that is on this generation to be successful right now, because they don't know that future. You have to understand that future isn't just that they're competing with the 50-year-old person that just got laid off of their job. And so now they're trying to take their entry-level job because they need to, quote unquote, start over. But AI is taking over every position now to some degree, from upper management all the way down to the entry-level jobs. So these students now are looking to inherit a world that is basically saying, we don't value you enough to even want to hire you and pay you.
So that's big.
And so for them, they definitely get jaded. And again, these kids aren't dumb. So they're trying to see, okay, well, who actually cares about me? Who actually gives a damn enough to show me the right way? Who even has the right answer? Because if I'm looking on TikTok or I'm looking on Instagram and they're showing me these 60-second side hustle clips or these little scam things, I'm not a scammer. I don't want to be a scammer. Where's the truth? Where's the actual principles that I need in order to really be successful at this? And if they can't find it, they're just going to do what they always do, which is tune out. And I don't blame them.
Absolutely. I think it's a sham. Nothing is overnight, right? The most powerful thing, I think it was Kevin Hart, I heard say, it took me 15 years to become an overnight success.
Yeah,
Right?
man.
This is hard work. This is not easy. Learning how to trade is not easy, but it's at the end of it, you'll come out with a skill. Is trading considered a trade skill, or do you still advise your students to go to college and go get into student loan debt? Or what path do you kind of direct your students in and your clients in?
Sure. So it's always kind of been the way that I've led is it's easier to lead when you don't tell people what to do. So I
Hmm.
don't tell people what to do. Um, I can serve as an example. I can serve as an inspiration. I can provide you with knowledge and guidance and wisdom in terms of what I've been able to do. But if you learn the skill of trading and you've got the money to pay for college, then go to college if that's what you want to do. If you're making enough money where you're like, well, I don't necessarily want to go to college because I was going to college to get the money. I already got the money. So let me go and do something else. Go and do that. So, what I'm more interested in is how do we give you personal sovereignty? How do we give you personal freedom for you to be able to make the life choice that you want to make? Most of us don't want to work that same 9 to 5 job. You don't want to go and work for somebody else to give away your time, your energy, your effort, some of the best years of your life to somebody who, let's be honest with you don't respect. Like how many times, the number one reason why people leave their job outside of their salary is their direct report. So if their boss sucks, then it doesn't matter how cool the company is. It can be Google, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. If your boss is terrible, then you're going to want to leave. And so what I want to teach instead is just how do you get the freedom to do whatever it is that you choose to do? Because that's what freedom is truly. Do you want to do it here? Do you want to do it in Italy? Or do you want to do it in Mexico? Or do you like where do you want to do it? How do you want to do it? That's what true freedom is. And the way the entire country, the entire world economy is going, as much as people fear things like artificial intelligence and stuff like that, is really providing us an opportunity to be able to reflect as a civilization to go, is this the way that we still want to continue to live? Does this 9 to 5 corporate, we're going to put kids in a factory, by factory, I mean school, right? This little factory of learners to be obedient, to then have them go and be obedient to whoever their boss is, to work 50 years, to hopefully take the last 15 to 20 of those years to go and live through retirement. But then if I run out of money during retirement, now I got to rely on my grandkids who don't care because they are young and they're doing the same stuff that I'm doing right now. Like this cycle just doesn't need to repeat itself. And we have what I feel like is a once in a civilization opportunity to be able to really make those changes if we can do it in a proactive way. But just right now, I just don't quite see it happen. So for me, at the very least, what I want to do is not be that person that's wagging the finger at the next generation, like back in my day, we did this, but instead to go, look, man, I learned something that I think is truly valuable. And so if you listen and if you take this advice, it'll give you the freedom to be able to do whatever it is that you choose to do. And that will make me more happy than anything else.
Love it. Woo-hoo! The legend himself, Mr. Marcus Howard, killing it. Another round of applause for this man. This man is killing it. What I want to see, and you mentioned this earlier, I want to see the TikTok videos of the FIRE movement, early retirement early. Is that still realistic? Is for in this generation? Do you think that's a realistic notion and a better message to send versus, hey, you can have the Lamborghini of your dreams, you can have the house of your dreams, just take my $10,000 course? And no, you can retire early. And the FIRE movement is one of those things that perked up my ears when I started investing and I started learning about personal finance and financial literacy. What are your thoughts on the FIRE movement? And is early retirement a realistic move for our kids and our families and our adults?
Sure. In my personal opinion, and this is just my personal opinion, not a reflection of anything else, I don't recommend anybody retire early. Like if you're before 40, get your ass up and go to work, man. Like we need productive people in this society, and we need people that have the ability to be able to work. So I'm just not a fan of retirement early, but it's also coming from a personal experience in that when I was about 24, 25-ish, I had read the book by Tim Ferriss, The 4-Hour Workweek. Are you familiar with this book?
I am.
Right. So for those that aren't familiar with the book, basically the general premise was to figure out a way in which you can outsource yourself and your business enough where typically you just check in on the business and you're basically only working an hour a day or 4 hours a week. Well, Marcus, I can tell you at 25, 26, I had figured that out. So I was part owner in a business that really I had set up the systems in such a way where it really didn't technically need me. So I wasn't quite at 4 hours a week, but I mean, 2 hours a day. So I was doing 10 hours a week, making a full-time income plus some. So I was living in Costa Rica at the time. I had a crib in Austin, Texas. Like I was living the life that everybody aspires to be, where I had the freedom to do whatever I wanted to do 24 hours a day. Thankfully, one of the things that stuck from back then and I hold on now is like to this day, I still don't wake up with an alarm clock. Like I chose that I wanted to be free, which means I'm free to wake up whenever I choose to wake up. Now, to be honest with you, I'm at the age now where like I'm up at 5:30 in the morning because I got to pee. So like that still pisses me off, you know what I mean? But like at the time, it was whatever time I want to wake up. And I still am appreciative of my 25-year-old self that made that decision, that now that I'm 39, about to be 40, that I'm still holding on to that. But I say all that to say that at 25 years old, I had that early retirement life and it was terrible, man. You know why? All my friends were at work. So like I was just sitting there all day doing nothing, waiting on my friends to get off work. And I was like, well, this is stupid because I could be productive during this time other than like just wasting away and not engaging my brain in such a way to really be a productive member of society. So I'm not a fan of like the retire early, get money, take vacations, take long vacations if you want, take a year off, take 2 years off. But more importantly, what I'm saying is like, put yourself in a position where you have the freedom to do whatever it is that you choose. And I'm telling you that once you choose to not work anymore, you're going to quickly realize I probably want to go back to work because this is kind of boring.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to keep here. This is so juicy, y'all. This is so good because this is what we need. This is what people are not winning at. How important, credit score is that a part of the financial journey? Should we completely do away with it? Should we even not think about it? Because the entrepreneur, I've met numerous entrepreneurs that some are for credit scores, some are not. What is your personal experience as far as the credit score, and should we make that a part of the curriculum of financial education and being financially astute?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So thankfully you're talking to the right person, because that business that I told you that I ran for like 15 years out of college, the business was that I was helping college students to establish a 720 credit score. So I had written a book about personal finance, and then the last half of the book was how to establish credit. And then I coupled that with what's now called a software as a service business, but back then SaaS wasn't even a term. But essentially I connected with a friend of mine who was a computer science major. He had programmed a software that would allow us to be able to go and get loans from banks for these students. The students wouldn't have a debit card, so they couldn't withdraw the money. We would pay the interest up front, and essentially they would just deduct the money from the account in order to have a loan under that student's name to be able to increase their credit score. It wasn't something that I invented. It's been used by the mortgage industry for decades to help people to establish credit to get a home. My innovation was that we just did it for college students. So I can tell you that having a good credit score is important, because in all of the places that truly matter, they're going to be looking at that as a barometer for not just, because it's not going to tell people how much money you have. It's going to tell people how well you're able to manage money as an adult. Are you paying your bills on time? What is your debt to income ratio? Do you even understand what all of that is? Do you have a mortgage loan? Do you have a car loan? How much is your car loan? Are you making $90,000 a year with a $150,000 car? You're an idiot. So like all of those things are incorporated into the life decisions that you're making in terms of a credit score. Now, we can go one level deeper and talk about how credit scores have notoriously been used to make the rich be richer and the poor be poorer and all those things. Like I get that part. And credit cards for, in a lot of instances, if you ask me the value of credit cards, it would probably be a different discussion. But in terms of credit scores themselves, I think they are a pretty decent barometer. Tell people, even like me, like when I'm looking at people to hire, I'm looking at your credit score too, because if I'm giving you a budget to handle within my company, I want to know how you manage your personal budget. How am I going to be able to know that unless I have some sort of systematic way to be able to use a third-party tool that can tell me that without being all, I like them.
Absolutely. He likes it, y'all. There you have it. He likes it. He's insupportable. Mister.
Yeah. Now, what I would say though is it's not the be all to end all, meaning that my credit score is great now, thank God, that a lot of that I'm gonna have to contribute to my wife. She's been just incredible in terms of just helping me to mature as just a general human being, which has been amazing. But when we look at credit scores and how they really work, it's not a reflection of like who you are as a person. I'll say that for sure. And you could do anything. Like you can charge something, for example, I put something on my credit card not too long ago that was like $1,000. Do I have more than that in the bank? Absolutely. But because my debt to income ratio went up a small amount because I charged more than I normally did on my credit card, which I paid off within 30 days, my credit score still dropped like 40 points. So it's like, it's still retarded in how they do it, but it's still a functional piece of society that I don't think we need to get rid of.
Okay, that's fair, and that's real, right? Is a part of the financial conversation, like you said. And like you said, I think employers are looking at that to, again, if I'm going to give you access to millions of dollars, I need to know how you manage a little bit before I give you access to the bigger stuff.
For sure.
And there's a growing process through that, right? If you're and I think what employers for me have looked for in the past when I used to work for a company is they want to see if you're going to be honest. Hey, what do you have going on and what is the plan to fix it? Right? Yeah. Because if you're honest with me and you share with me that, hey, I got some stuff lingering out there, but these are the steps I'm taking. These are the student loans that I'm working on currently. This is the plan, right? Yeah. Then you can still be an asset to what we're trying to promote and what we're trying to teach. And so, but the more common one, I think, and you can speak to this, Mr. Howard, if you've seen it, is I don't know. I just took the credit card, I maxed it out, and I don't know how I'm going to pay it because I'm living off of this income of $800 every 2 weeks. Yeah, that's not a plan, right? And even to the paradigm of the student loan crisis, I remember when I used to date, encountering women, and I'm not knocking student loan debt. I think it's has their place, and this wasn't a turnoff for me. But she had this one lady in particular had $400,000 in student loan debt. Wow. That was not the turnoff for me and what caused me to end the courtship. What caused the end of the courtship was she had no plan. And that's what made me end it. And so finance, just like you shared earlier and you gave wisdom to earlier about family dynamics, same thing with relationships. It's humbling, and it's humbling to me to hear that you're struggling with finances. I may have some stuff going on. Communicate that to me. And your credit score is one of those things that is in the financial space. Let's talk about it and see what the plan is. If you have no plan, are you willing to work towards one? And so that is huge, powerful.
Because in relationships, the number one thing that makes a relationship last is communication. So if you can't communicate about the things that are important, that truly matter, like money, then it's hard for that relationship to be able to last, because no relationship is going to last a long time if there are secrets. And money, and not talking about money, means that you are harboring secrets. And a lot of times, if you're not managing money well, you're harboring secrets that aren't the ones that are good surprises. And so at the beginning and end of the day, you need to be able to communicate that effectively, because the two reasons why the three reasons that people get divorced or in relationships, A, is infidelity, as we know that. That's usually not the deal breaker, surprisingly not. Like, you can deal with infidelity. Number two is issues with the kid, so y'all not having agreements about parenting. But then the third most important one, the one that leads to most divorces, is money issues.
That's true. Yeah, money issues is a big problems. And it's really, really bad. I think the stuff that we talk about, I remember on a different podcast, I was having a conversation with this lady about money. And so we're not talking about money early on, right? And it takes skill, right? You don't want to just the first date, hey, here's all my money problems. But at some point,
that'll be a short date, my man.
You do want to bring up the conversation in a very mature way and make sure you're talking to a mature person. So Mr. Howard is spilling the tea here on the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. Speaking about maturity, we have to go to a quick commercial break. You guys are fabulous. Don't go anywhere. We got to pay some bills, y'all. We got to pay our sponsors. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Support for Gentleman Style Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming champions of the world. Manscaped offers you precision engineering tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th-generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off free worldwide shipping with the code GENSTYLE at manscaped.com.
If you're looking for a reliable professional trucking and logistics service, you've come to the right place. Musa Trucking is a veteran-owned and operated premier transportation provider that can help with all of your trucking and logistics needs. Musa is revolutionizing the trucking industry through strategic partnerships, the development of core personnel, and the use of cutting-edge technology. Our inventory system ensures that cargo ends up divided into the right trucks and reaching the correct destination. Our drivers are dedicated to transporting goods efficiently and safely. Contact us today to get started by visiting the website on the screen or by calling 757-756-5246.
Good day, podcast listeners. This is your boy, Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. I wanted to let you guys know that we will be rolling out a new feature and adding a join sponsor button next to the subscriber button here at the bottom of your screen. Once you click the button, it will display 3 membership levels. Gentleman Gentry, which is our entry level, Duke Duchess, which is our season level, and the Emperor and Empress, which is our most sophisticated level, which you will receive unique perks and benefits at each differing level and gain access to our community tab. We will also be sharing polls, upcoming events, and interviews, as well as receive feedback from our sponsors directly. Your support helps me find new and exciting guests to bring to the stage live. Well, in order to get the higher end speakers, it requires, you guessed it, money. So thank you for tuning in to my channel. And if becoming a sponsor sounds good to you, then select the join button below and choose your desired sponsor level. Let's continue to grow and serve the future of generations of men and women to come. Love you guys. Bye. We are back in the Gentleman Style Podcast Show, and we have the incredible, fantastic, the super fragilistic, espialidocious, Mr. Marcus Howard, spilling the tea on how personal finance and financial literacy needs to be adopted into the home, needs to be adopted into our education system. Fire movement needs to be adopted, and he doesn't encourage it retiring at all, but there is a form of retirement that you can modify and still be a productive citizen of society and still contribute to the world and give back. And he is spilling the tea here on Gentleman Style Podcast Show. If you missed any of what he said, go back, scroll back, and check him out. It's absolutely phenomenal. We are on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple iTunes, Facebook business page, LinkedIn, wherever you get your podcast, we are there. Mr. Howard, sir, I want to talk about trading and your hedge fund. How has your knowledge and expertise and the psychology of trading, how has that benefited you? Are there any significant tools that you've learned from your hedge fund and you want to incorporate into personal development and that financial literacy that we talked about earlier on? Any tips or mindsets that you can share with us today about that?
Sure. What I can say from doing this at a pretty high level professionally is investing has taught me that if you don't have self-discipline, and if you aren't able to look at yourself and who you are objectively in a non-judgmental way, it's going to be hard for you to be successful at anything. So here's what I mean by that. In running my fund, I get almost instant feedback of whether or not my thesis or my thoughts or what I believe to be true is actually true. The market doesn't care whether or not I'm right or wrong. The market is just going to do what the market's going to do. But a lot of times we as individuals will place our own beliefs, thoughts, fears, motivations, goals, and all those other things on the actual market itself. And then if it doesn't work in the way that we thought, a lot of times we can shift the blame from us to, oh, there was something wrong with the market that day. But the market don't care about you. The market does what it does. And so what you must understand is that what you are seeing is the back at you about who you are, what you believe, your thoughts about money, your thoughts about your own self-worth, your thoughts about what's possible for you. And if you can't, in an objective way, be able to determine very quickly whether or not your thoughts, beliefs, and ideas about whether or not you can succeed, whether it's in life or in the markets, is wrong, then you're going to lose more money than necessary. The big difference that I see between a professional investor with folks that run funds like mine and people that are in the industry with me, and retail investors, which are non-professional investors who are basically trading their own money, is that a non-professional investor is a lot more willing to be wrong with their life savings than a professional investor is to be wrong with someone else's money. There's a startling statistic. 90% of traders lose 90% of their money in the first 90 days. That doesn't matter if it's $1,000, $10,000, or $1 million. If you don't know what you're doing, you're going to lose 90% of it. And so in that time that you're losing 90% of it, one, it probably shouldn't be your own money. So it should be either a sim account, or if you know anything about prop firms, you should be looking at prop firms to shorten that learning curve for you. But as a retail investor, a lot of times their ego gets in the way of them just saying, okay, I was wrong this day, or this wasn't the right investment that I should be taking, or maybe I did put on too much risk for that one individual investment. And so what I can say that being a professional investor has taught me more than anything is that every day I have to take a hard look at myself in the mirror and be okay with the person that I am. Because if I'm not, then the world will, or the market will instantly reflect that back to me in a way that could trigger me emotionally, which could be bad news bears for everybody. And as a fiduciary, meaning I have a legal responsibility to make my clients money, it's unacceptable. So I really have to work on myself on a pretty consistent basis, which, if I'm honest with you, a lot of people are just not willing to do.
That's fair, but I want to push back a little bit. There is a psychology to money, right? And even though I think emotions play some kind of impact when the CEO of United Healthcare gets shot and people pull out. That's an emotional reaction. The company didn't actually change yet. The CEO is gone, right? And if you believe that the CEO had a significant impact, which the CEO had a significant impact as to why United Healthcare was profitable, as to why United Healthcare is making money. If that's your belief, then, and you see him get gunned down and you pull out of that market, isn't that an emotionally charged decision, even though United Healthcare may be doing well in the market standpoint?
Sure. I mean, but emotions have just as much to do with decisions as logic and psychology does. So when we're talking about trading and investing, you can't do it outside of your emotions. One of the things that differentiates me as a professional trader, and I'll get to the full answer to your question because I do understand what you're saying, but I think this is an important distinction, is one of the things that distinguishes me as a professional investor is that I have systemized how we work in such a way to eliminate so many of those emotional things so that my emotions can't get the better of me in these instances, because we have systems in place that are void and independent of emotion. But again, if you're somebody who's a retail investor who, and believe me, I trade my own money too. So I'm in the same boat. I'm not speaking from this guy on high who has made all of these mistakes before, because I genuinely have, if not yesterday, you know what I mean? So like, if this is a hard thing for everyone. So what I'm saying is there are systems in place which will be able to protect you from emotions, but then what you're explaining right now in this moment is an input in which whatever's going on with you mentally, logically, or emotionally is leading to a different output that's based on what's in your internal mirror. But for me, if I was invested in United Healthcare, for example, and their CEO just got shot and their the price of their shares went down 20%, and the fundamentals of the business are all the same. It's just that the news has brought the market down. My reaction is not I'm trying to pull my money out. My reaction is I'm going to put more money in because the company is still the same. And so now I can put more money in at a discount and be able to make more money when it goes back up to where it was supposed to be in the first place, because people are overreacting to the news. So the same input may not generate the same output from two completely different people. And that's why it's important to understand all of it.
Absolutely. I want to absolutely thank you for that distinction. I really appreciate you taking the time to break that down and share that distinction with us. I want to talk in this current economic cycle, in this current economic period. There's talks of recession. There's talks about economic slowdowns. There's talk about crashes. And so, what can we learn from crashes? What can we learn from the 2008 market crash, real estate crash, that investors or people who are trying to gain a financial understanding, those beginner levels? Can you speak from the 101 level? What should we pay attention to figure out what to do with our money in this current economic climate? I guess I'm not trying to ask you to predict. And by the way, I want to protect my guests by saying none of this is financial advice. This is a personal, private conversation to protect my guest and the hedge fund and what he does for a living. But I just wanted your thoughts on and what you personally feel.
Yeah. So this is something that we teach a lot in our Tradechology Academy, which is the academy that we have for our middle school and high school students. One of the things, or one of the innovations that I enjoy about that particular academy, is that the students go through a curriculum in which the protagonist that is in our story, our protagonist, his name is Zane Montgomery, he finds out that his dad, who's a genius investor and the principal of his high school, also has a time machine in the basement. And so when he discovers that, his father, instead of like reprimanding the son for finding the time machine, decides that he's going to allow his son to travel with him through time to different moments in financial history, so that he can not only teach his son how to manage money, but to teach him the wisdom and the lessons that came from these significant economic events. The reason why that jogged my memory is that one of those events that they travel back to in time, where he teaches his son, is the 2008 financial crisis. And so for me, I was just starting my career around that time. I was maybe like 22, 23-ish when the financial crisis happened. I was working for New York Life, an insurance company at the time, I wasn't quite a financial planner yet, but I was still basically just an insurance agent. So I kind of saw that firsthand in terms of things that were happening, and was able to, again, get that professional kind of inside track in terms of knowing what was truly happening versus what they were putting on the news. So the wisdom that I can give, whether it's that time or whether it's the COVID crisis or whether it's Donald Trump deciding he wants to just tariff every country in the world out of the blue, is that when everybody is moving in one direction, it would behoove you to pay attention to what where they're going, and see if there's a way for you to go in the opposite direction. I'll give you an example from my own life. So in 2020, when the pandemic happened, and they were telling us we were going to shelter in place for 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks turned to 2 months, and then 2 months turned to the better part of a year. Once I had kind of gotten with that, it seems like the world's going to be shut down for a while, I started to peruse, which is going to make me sound like the biggest nerd ever, but I don't care, whatever. Like, I think it's important for people to understand that you should use every skill that you have available to you. And for young people that are listening that don't think being smart is cool, the richest people in the world are smart people, man. So like, just get that out of your head. Like, it's important for you to apply yourself in this world. So I was looking at the Federal Reserve website to try to get insights on like what they were thinking in terms of the entire world economy is closed down right now. So where are they putting money? What moves are they making? Because wherever their money goes is where the market's going to go too. So if I have a head start in terms of where they're going to put their money, then I may be able to take advantage of it. I didn't quite find that, but here's what I did find. I found that during that time, all of the restaurants were closed. And it's not like if you were a corporation that had cows, pigs, chickens, lambs, and those sorts of things that sold to restaurants, that you can just go, oh man, well, I can't sell it to the grocery store. So I can't sell it to the restaurants. I'm gonna sell it to the grocery stores. You were contractually obligated to sell that stuff to the restaurants. The restaurants not accepting it. That meant that you couldn't sell your stuff, which meant, and this is a true story, they've never reported on the news, but if you look for it yourself, you'll realize that during that time in 2020, when the world shut down, we had a Holocaust by the means of like we have never seen before in recorded history. We slaughtered hundreds of millions of animals for no reason other than we couldn't sell them. Bigger than any war or anything that we ever have. I'm kind of choking up right now because these are still sentient beings that we slaughtered simply because we couldn't make a profit from them. Absolutely. But in knowing that and understanding that, I also recognized that these companies that were selling to restaurants were also going to be recording record profits because they weren't getting a bailout. And so as a result, I knew that whatever publicly traded companies that there were, if I were to go and put some put options on them and just make money as their share price went down, that I would be able to make some money. I won't go into exactly how much I made, but made what was close to a small fortune with just being able to apply what I knew was going to be happening 2 to 3 to 6 months from now in terms of like their product to. And so they were going to be recording record profits, and that I would be able to, in some way, be able to take advantage of that in a way to bring forth a positive return for myself and others.
Yeah, that's real. That's real. I want to stay with the emotional piece, and I want to talk about something you talked about earlier with financial literacy, and that is great insight into AI. You talked about AI, and you mentioned AI. As a hedge fund manager, as a trader, active trader, and also teaching our future traders as well, the future leaders of our generation and our legacy. Will AI eliminate finance jobs? Will it? The robo advisor, the robo investor, right? We're seeing Acorns, certain apps come out to play in sort of a kind of a way to try and replace professional individuals from investing and teaching investing and helping clients and do what you do. Your thoughts on AI? Will it eliminate finance jobs, or will humans always have a role in investing in the future that you're betting on?
Sure. That's a powerful question, and I appreciate you asking it because it's important, especially when we're talking about artificial intelligence and just how much uncertainty and fear is around it. So the short answer to this is no. The markets have always been guided by human mechanisms and emotions. So there's never really going to be a way to eliminate the human out of the equation, because the human, no matter what level you look at it, is the one with the money. So it's not going to always allow a machine, no matter how good a machine is, to, with complete sovereignty, be able to make those decisions. But what it will do is to eliminate the 60% of lazy professionals who weren't making a big contribution in their job anyhow. And so they're going to be forced out because there's a new version of you that doesn't sleep. And so for those that are really good and really apply themselves, then you'll find that they will be utilizing artificial intelligence to augment what they're already doing to be able to do it 10 times better. But for those that were relying on getting away with it, with like just being able to show up in this world and the way that it's going to be set up now, you're not going to be able to do that anymore. So artificial intelligence is going to be something that's going to truly disrupt our society, but it doesn't necessarily have to be in a negative way. And I'll give you 2 clear examples in terms of why that is. The first example I'll give you is the future, and the other example I'll give you is one from history. The first one in terms of the future is, think about it all the way to the end. If we were to use artificial intelligence in, let's say, education, for example, we already know that teachers don't get paid enough. If I'm honest with you, there are a lot of teachers that aren't truly qualified to do the job. If we had an artificial intelligence that necessarily replaced teachers, but will enable us to scale the 20% of the best teachers in the world to all students to enable them to learn better, would that not be a revolution in education overnight?
It would be.
If instead of us thinking artificial intelligence is going to take all the teacher jobs, we understand that a artificial intelligence agent can look at the entire history of every student's progress to know where they excel, where they need help at, where they are falling short, are they dyslexic, and these other things, to give them a personalized curriculum at scale, not just to the students in the United States, but to every student in the world, because we can put these things on cell phones or Raspberry Pi computers for no cost whatsoever. These are things that can truly transform and change not just this country, but our entire civilization. And we have the technology to do it right now. It's just a choice that we haven't done it yet. So we can look at this in a way as we did, in a fearful way, the same way people looked at the internet when it was something to be feared. Or we can look at it as a true way to be able to embrace it, to really be able to make some changes for people that truly do need it, man. Because you can't tell me students in sub-Saharan Africa or students in the mountains of Mexico are any less smart or any less capable than the kids that's in Chicago right now. They're the same kid. They're the same smart. It's just access to opportunity. One thing that's taught me in life is the thing that has helped to make me successful. Yes, I may have above average intelligence or whatever, but that's not it. It's the ability to be able to get access to things that normally haven't been afforded to people that look like me. Let me just keep it 1,000. You know what I mean? Like most people don't get these same sort of opportunities, but I've been able to engineer these opportunities for myself in such a way because this is the path that God wanted me to be on.
So do you feel privilege? You know, someone having that access, it has a better advantage over you.
Do I feel like someone, so you're saying someone that may have quote unquote privilege, do I feel like they have an advantage over me?
Yeah, someone who didn't have money, or the mom and dad with the huge life insurance policy, or mom and dad didn't have the college savings to pay for college outright.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm thinking of the young man. I'm thinking of the young man watching you right now, who's sitting there and saying, my mom is we're in Section 8 housing. We're in a HUD home. We got food stamps. There's no way I can achieve any of the things that Mr. Howard is talking about.
But with all due respect, I tell that young man it's bullshit. Because I grew up in those same circumstances, bro. Like, I didn't come with a silver spoon or anything. Like, I told you my story. Like, my mom still makes $50,000 a year. It was my genuine effort. It was my drive. It was my motivation to pull myself out of the situation and then to inspire others to do the same thing that has really made the difference in my life. Now, did I get lucky? Did I have mentors? Did I have people that saw something in me that maybe gave me a leg up? Absolutely. But you know what that was? That was me putting myself in the environment in which those opportunities could be afforded to me. But I still deal with the same sort of stuff every single day. So to go back to your question of privilege, when I look at people that may have had that and I didn't have it growing up and I'm in those same rooms, I actually look to a lot of those people with empathy. And the reason why I do it is because they haven't had to figure out what I had to figure out to get here. It was given to them. And it's a different way of being altogether. And so at the start of this, I said, like, I'm looking at a mirror and I try to look from the other person's perspective. This person doesn't know me. They don't know the stuff that I've been through. They don't know the stuff that I went through. So why am I looking at them with negative judgment? Because of the mirror that they're reflecting of themselves and what they see in me. And so, yes, people do have privilege in this world. Let's not act like this world is fair. It isn't fair by any stretch of the imagination. But like, the only power that anybody has over you is the power that you give them. And God gives you all the power you need. So what are we talking about?
This is epic. This is an epic conversation. Sir, I want to ask the question, how can people connect with you? How can people find you? How can people get in front of their financial education with your company, Tradechology, and find you and connect with you and support and get on board?
Sure. Well, if you're interested in this sort of stuff that we're talking about here, where we really give you the opportunity to be able to learn about how to create an academy of wealth for yourself, to be able to be a wealth creator and to take control of your own financial freedom, I would invite you just to check out our website, Tradechology. So think psychology, but for trading, tradechologyjr.com. That will be the first place for you to go ahead and get started, to tell you about our program. There's a whole bunch of free information and materials that you can take a look at in order to start that path, whether you're a student or as well if you're an adult. We do have an adult course as well for parents and for just general people that maybe never had the opportunity to be able to do so. And if you want to connect with me personally, on most places in social media, my full name, it's Marcus Howard, and it's usually like Marcus Howard HQ. Is my things. I'm a normal person. I'm approachable. As long as your DM isn't crazy, I'll respond to it. I'm not some guy in an ivory tower, man. Like Jesus wasn't that way, so why would I be?
Absolutely. And what can people expect? What should someone have prepared or ready before they book that appointment and reach out to either you or TradeChologyJr.com? What should they have prepared?
Sure. For me, it's just have an idea of what you want. Have a goal in mind. Like I'm not coming. You're coming to me in a way in which you are seeking knowledge, advice, wisdom, help, or whatever. So I'm not expecting you to have the answer, but what I am expecting for you is just to have some drive and an idea of where you're trying to go, and then just to be teachable, man. Like we're too old and there's too much going on in this world for me to have to fight with your ego as well. So like, just check your ego at the door the same way that we all check our egos when we need to do what we need to do, and just come with a spirit of openness, and you'll be surprised what God will be able to pour into you when you come with an empty cup.
Love it. For our audio listeners, that's Marcus Howard HQ. Connect, and audio listeners, Tradechologyjr.com. Check him out. He's fantastic. Sir, I want to tell this to you personally. Don't ever quit. We need you. We need what you're doing.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Appreciate you. Like we end every show, we got to let this incredible man go. He has many more lives to change and many more households and legacies to build. Like we end every show, take care of your friends, take care of your family, and always take care of business. This is Marcus, your favorite gentleman, and the incredible Marcus Howard, signing off. Love you guys. Bye.